Today's story is one of those moments where Nigerian politics feels less like governance and more like a heavyweight boxing match. Well, except instead of gloves, it's allegations, petitions, and fiery clapbacks on social media.
You just see them, people try to make all kinds of allegations here and there. Well, when they say that they rush me in an ambulance, I have a heart attack. But
the reason why ADC was allowed to do the coalition, do you know why? Is because the coalition was meant to create an impression that there is opposition. There's no opposition anywhere. But if there is no coalition, the Nigerian people will start organizing their own opposition. The APC doesn't want the Nigerian people to organize around radical. No, it's true. They know that they will go behind one radical person. They created the bogey with the incentives to create opposition. But Nigerians are smarter now.
On one side, you've got Nyesom Wike, former governor of Rivers State, now the very powerful minister of the Federal Capital Territory, a man known for his brash personality, his ambitious projects, and also for being one of the most controversial politicians of this era. And on the other side, you've got Omoyele Sowore, activist, journalist, founder of Sahara Reporters, and two-time presidential candidate, a man who has built his entire career around exposing corruption, challenging powerful politicians, and paying the price with multiple arrests. These two men represent opposite ends of Nigeria's political spectrum, one entrenched in the system, the other constantly at war with it. Their feud has been simmering for over a decade, but in 2025, it has exploded into something bigger, dragging in international petitions, US real estate controversies, and even a whopping $300 million environmental fund scandal. So, how did we get here? What exactly is fueling this clash? And why does it matter for Nigeria's democracy and governance? Let us break it down.
The minister himself had lied on TV that he didn't have any properties in the US, that the only property he had was a property that was donated to his wife by the wife's father or mother. I don't know which work they did or they were doing, but in investigating further, we found out there were 4 properties in the name of the wife that were then donated. Listen to this. They then donated the properties that were millions at $10 per property to their children.
we're all happy reading it in social media. This is a country where somebody who on social media will say Mr. President is a criminal. Nothing will happen. Nothing. You say all kinds of things you want to say, nothing will happen.
To understand this clash, you first need to know the players. Nyesom Wike, born 1963 in Umuekpirikom, Rivers State, started his career as a lawyer, then entered politics as a local government chairman. By the mid-2000s, he was climbing the ranks fast, becoming chief of staff to the then governor Rotimi Amechi. Wike earned a reputation early on as a political bulldozer, fiercely loyal to his allies until they crossed him, and then equally fierce in destroying them. When Amechi and Wike later fell out, their feud practically tore Rivers politics apart. By 2015, Wike has successfully maneuvered himself into the governorship of Rivers State, and during his 8 years in office, he branded himself Mr. Project, commissioning roads, bridges, and flashy buildings almost every month. His style was loud, dramatic, and often theatrical. Think ribbon-cutting ceremonies that looked like campaign rallies. But beneath the surface, critics accused him of ruling Rivers State with an iron fist. Opposition figures and human rights groups claimed his government was marked by election violence, corruption, and even human rights abuses. The most infamous allegation came in 2020 during the EndSARS protests, when soldiers and police stormed the community of Obigbo, leading to dozens of deaths. Many accused Wike of ordering the crackdown. He denied it, claiming the victims were IPOB separatists. By 2023, after finishing his second term, Wike stunned Nigerians by accepting a role in President Bola Tinubu's APC government, despite spending years as a top PDP figure. His new job as FCT Minister gave him national visibility and immense power over Abuja's land, buildings and resources, and that's where Sowore comes in. If Wike is the system, Sowore is the disruptor.
Memo in government that whenever we want to take charge in this country, be careful of the Igbo. Don't give them position. Don't give them opportunity. Otherwise, they will over. For an Igbo man to survive in Nigeria, as it is currently put together, Nigeria must break.
Wait, the meeting you had with Nnamdi Kanu.
Yes.
You are telling us now that Nnamdi Kanu.
Don't you know what happened, the cop pogrom in this country, where people were slaughtered and their bodies and their heads placed inside the train going down south? Even our parents.
Wow.
Tell us, Igbo, in 2024, detaining Nnamdi Kanu against all the court orders, against all the court rulings.
Omoyele Sowore grew up in Ondo State and became politically active during his university days. He was a student union leader during the dark days of military rule in the 1990s, organizing protests against military dictatorships. In the mid-2000s, he founded Sahara Reporters in New York, an online media platform dedicated to exposing corruption in Nigeria. Sahara Reporters quickly earned a reputation for fearless investigative journalism, publishing leaks and documents that mainstream Nigerian media were often too scared to touch. And of course, this made Sowore enemies among the political class. Many accused him of running a blackmail platform, while supporters hailed him as one of the few voices holding the elite accountable. In 2019, he took things further by running for president under the African Action Congress, AAC.
Be going against what I have always stood for, which is that I would never support a Nigerian leader who has been president, governor, chairman, local government councillor before, who I consider non-performing. It's the same reason I would never have joined hands with Atiku. And the Peter Obi you are talking about was vice president to Atiku when I was a presidential candidate in 2019.
Yes.
So what are we talking about? Peter Obi on. There's no lesser evil in my books. If you are evil, you are evil. If you are good, you are good. But I am not interfering with people who have emotional attachments. So I have a general disdain for non-performance.
But what did he do that you can say, now this thing where Peter Obi did do? Because you mentioned that you said he's been packaged. So are you telling us that all those
he
things
saved money when he was leaving the office? There was money.
So where the money was saved? Which back in there?
His campaign was radical, promising to end corruption, scrap the Senate, and invest massively in education and healthcare. But just before the elections, he was arrested for organizing the Revolution Now protests and was detained for months on treason charges. Despite his legal troubles, Sowore has remained one of the loudest critics of successive governments. Whether it's Buhari, Tinubu, or state governors like Wike, Sowore rarely holds back. His Twitter, now called X feed, is a constant stream of callouts, documents, and sharp words, and that's what has kept him and Wike locked in this long, bitter feud. The feud didn't begin in 2025. It actually goes back 15 years. In 2010, during a River State Investment Forum at Columbia University in New York, Sowore confronted Rivers officials about corruption allegations. At the time, Wike was serving as Chief of Staff to Governor Amechi, and there were petitions alleging he had diverted 3 billion naira in state funds into personal accounts. Sowore, representing Sahara Reporters, asked bluntly why someone accused of such corruption was still in government. It was a tense moment. Wike himself wasn't on stage, but his allies brushed off the question as opposition propaganda.
For providing electricity in the last regime. So the 250 megawatts we are talking about, did it come from that one in which he diverted all the funds for his failed presidential run, or was this one your own? And secondly, regarding your own regime, at the beginning of the regime, one of the governor's aides, by the name Nyesom Wike, was found to have stashed away 3 billion naira in a personal account. It's not a laughing matter. And he was actually arrested and eventually the judiciary was bribed to let him go, which we documented. But he's still working with the governor. How do you justify retaining such an individual in your government who is known to be corrupt, and this idea of personal responsibility for taking care of funds? And regarding the larvicide, let me tell you, somebody who drank a cup of larvicide is not an objective scientific proof that larvicide won't kill people. Because the truth is that what he drank may have been ordinary water. You need someone outside of the professor who brought you the larvicide to determine whether it is destructive or has serious side effects on the people of Rivers State. What we know about larvicide is that they kill mosquitoes just for a short while. Their side effect lasts for a long time.
Yes, the professor took a cup of it and drank, but that in spite of that, we still went ahead to take some samples to be tested in our laboratory. We did not end there. We also took some samples, sent it overseas for testing. If you listen to me, so I'm not saying it's a scientific proof. I'm an engineer and I should know that. Okay? The second issue you raised is about a gentleman called Wike who stole 3 billion, you said? 3 billion naira. Let me start by telling you that that is a very wild allegation. Let me explain what happens in case, for the first time, perhaps let people hear the full story. The allegation is that he changed a government account number, removed government name, and inserted his name. Now, even a very dull person that has no brain will certainly not do that. You know why? Because even without being a government official, with 5,000 naira in your hand, you can open a new account if you walk into any bank. So why would a lawyer, he is a lawyer, the man you're talking about, why would a lawyer wanting to steal government money, the only thing he will do is to remove government's name, then insert his name? Does it not tell you that something is wrong? Okay, now that's one. The issue of him stealing 3 billion naira is completely not founded in any way.
But for Wike, that public embarrassment planted a seed of resentment, and for Sowore, it was just the beginning of a career-long campaign against Wike's style of politics. When Wike became governor in 2015, Sahara Reporters was already a thorn in his side. They published stories accusing him of election rigging, violent crackdowns, and misuse of state funds. Every new project Wike commissioned was portrayed by Sahara Reporters as a cover for corruption. The biggest flashpoint came during the EndSARS protest in 2020. After violence broke out in Obigbo, Wike imposed a curfew and labeled protesters IPOB insurgents. Security forces moved in and reports emerged of extrajudicial killings, mass arrests, and even mass graves. Sowore immediately called Wike a murderer, tweeting that his hands were dripping with innocent blood. Sahara Reporters doubled down, publishing graphic details of the crackdown. Wike, of course, denied responsibility, insisting he was protecting Rivers State from secessionists. But for many young Nigerians, that incident cemented Wike's image as a ruthless politician, and it cemented Sowore's role as one of his most relentless critics. Fast forward to 2023, Wike has finished his time as governor and shocked many by joining Bola Ahmed Tinubu's APC government as minister of the FCT. Sowore saw this as the ultimate betrayal of Rivers people, accusing Wike of looting the state to fund his federal ambitions. On social media, Sowore mocked Wike's Mr. Project brand, calling it a smokescreen for corruption and land grabs. Wike mostly ignored him, but his aides occasionally fired back, dismissing Sowore as a failed presidential candidate. For a while, it was just jabs on social media, but then came September 2025. This is where everything boiled over. Early September, Sowore posted on his X, calling President Tinubu a criminal, citing drug allegations and election rigging. The DSS charged him with defamation and tried to get the post removed. Sowore refused, and on September 18, 2025, during the flag off of a major road project in Abuja, Wike responded publicly. He said, "This is a country where somebody who is Sowore will say the president is a criminal and nothing will happen. You are lucky Tinubu respects the rule of law." To many, that sounded like a veiled threat, as if Wike was suggesting that in another time, Sowore might have been killed for such comments.
We're all happy reading it in social media. This is a country where somebody who on social media will say Mr. President is a criminal. Nothing will happen. Nothing. You say all kinds of things you want to say, nothing will happen. No matter how you see people criticize Trump, have you ever seen any American citizen on the social media, on the public, say, look, our president is a criminal? Have you ever had that? But yeah, anybody can wake up in the morning and abuse president, and we're happy. You are lucky you have a president that believes in the rule of law. You are lucky. Continue to be lucky. There are those you will meet and you won't be lucky again. And I tell people,
Sowore exploded. He went online calling Wike a drunkard, murderer, land grabber and thief, reviving the Obigbo killings and even posting throwback videos from 2010 to remind people of Wike's corruption allegations. From there, it was open war. Wike's aide, Lere Olayinka, went on the offensive, accusing Sowore of telling a scammer who mismanaged donations, bought a US mansion, and paid outrageous school fees for his kids. Sowore clapped back harder, filing petitions in the US and sharing documents allegedly tying Wike to millions in real estate in Florida. By late September, Nigerian X was in chaos. Memes flew around with users joking that Wike picked the wrong fight and that Sowore had finished him. But behind the jokes were serious allegations that could have international consequences. In the middle of all of this came another bombshell. Sowore revealed that Wike had allegedly diverted $300 million meant for the cleanup of Ogoni land, a project under HYPREP launched after the United Nations exposed decades of oil pollution. According to Sowore, Wike funneled that money into building a chain of supermarkets in Port Harcourt called Hypercity Supermarkets. This wasn't just a random allegation. Sowore claimed an Ogoni delegation had even mentioned it to President Tinubu at the villa. Now, to be clear, Wike has not publicly admitted to this, and there's no official conviction or probe. But the allegation struck a nerve because the Ogoni cleanup has been plagued with corruption scandals for years, and the community has suffered environmental devastation without much progress. So for Sowore, this was another example of Wike robbing the people. If the supermarket scandal was domestic, the Florida scandal took things international. Sowore, through his lawyer, petitioned the Florida Attorney General to investigate Wike for allegedly purchasing over $6 million worth of luxury lakeside properties in Winter Springs, Florida. He shared documents showing that between 2021 and 2023, Wike and his wife, Justice Eberechi Nyesom Wike, a Court of Appeal judge, transferred these properties into the names of their children. Quitclaim deeds listed their US addresses and transaction dates, fueling speculation that this was an attempt to hide assets. Sowore's petition argued that Florida should not become a safe haven for looted Nigerian funds. A group of Nigerian journalists even launched a petition on Change.org calling for US authorities to act. For Wike, These allegations are damaging, especially since he's in charge of land and property in Abuja. For Sowore, it's his ultimate weapon, pushing the fight beyond Nigeria's borders. So where does this leave us? On social media, Nigerians are divided. Some see Sowore as a lone voice daring to challenge Wike and Tinubu, using evidence and documents to expose corruption. Others dismiss him as a loud activist who thrives on controversy without ever winning power. As for Wike, he remains a master political survivor, still in office, still controlling Abuja's FCT, and still backed by Tinubu. He rarely responds directly, preferring to let his aides and proxies do the dirty work. But this clash highlights something bigger: the constant tension between activism and entrenched political power in Nigeria. On one side, activists like Sowore keep pushing for accountability, often at great personal risk. On the other side, politicians like Wike wield state power to protect themselves and attack critics. The outcome of this feud, whether through court cases, international action, or just endless back and forth online, could set a precedent for how far accountability can really go in Nigeria. At the end of the day, the Wike versus Sowore saga is about more than two men trading insults. It's about whether powerful politicians can be held accountable. It's about whether activists can survive speaking truth to power. And it's about the choices Nigerians make to either laugh it off as social media drama or to demand answers about billions of dollars, environmental justice, and human rights. One thing I know: this story is not going away anytime soon. And as more documents, petitions, and counter allegations surface, the stakes will only get higher. So what do you think? And do you believe Wike will ever face accountability for the allegations against him? Drop your thoughts in the comment below. Let's get the conversation going.